I'm here at the store of the National Maritime Museum, and in front of me is one of the objects that laid the groundwork for my research. This flag once belonged to Nana Olomu, the great trader and governor of the Benin River. The flag was given to the museum by Navy personnel who took part in the expedition against Nana in 1894. After a hard-won, months-long fight against Nana, the British Navy took Ebuhimi, Nana's town, and looted his possessions. Among these items were 3 flags, a blunderbuss, an ivory tusk, and a drum. Admiral Bedford, who led the attack against Nana, also painted watercolor paintings of Nana's extensive compounds and took photographs of other Ishikiri people whom we met during the expedition. The visit of an Ishikiri delegation in November 2014 marked the first highlight of my research. It showed the importance of sharing collections and the emotional ties that a lot of Ishikiri have with their heritage. As one of the delegates put it, our visit was like that of a family who came to visit a fallen soldier, to greet him, to give him warmth and recognition. Despite our knowledge of how these flags came into the museum and insightful books about the life and time of Nana Olomu by such eminent historians as Obaro Ikime and Jos Ayomike, a lot of questions remain open. Who exactly was Nana Olomu? What was the time like in which he lived and worked? What was the purpose of these flags? Some of these flags are embellished with the name of eminent traders. Others show vivid scenes like a man shooting a leopard. And some of them even have the Union Jack inserted into them. What can these flags tell us about the outward-looking past of the Ishikiri? Since the founding of the kingdom in 1480, the Ishikiri have been avid traders with the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, and the British. This has not only influenced Ishikiri language and their styles of dress. Their openness to goods and ideas from all over the world can be found in nearly every aspect of their life. And still, the Ishikiri are distinctively Ishikiri. What is the significance of these flags today as objects of heritage, but also in use today in regattas? And last but not least, what does Nana's life and time mean to the Ishikiri today?
I am a grandson to late Nana Olomu. Nana is the father of Johnson, who was the first son, and Johnson is my own father. So I am a great grandson to Olomu, a grandson to Nana, and a direct son to Johnson. My name is Olayemi. I am known as Olayemi Johnson Nana. Olomu was born in 1810 and died in 1883. Nana was born in 1840 and he died in 1916. My father, Johnson Nana, was born in 1870 and he died in 1952. Of course, I am still alive now. You will find that Olomu, Nana, and Johnson, my father, all were alive during the interregnum in Ishekiri history. The interregnum was from 1848 to 1936. All were alive during the interregnum in Ishekiri history. The interregnum was from 1848 to 1936. By 1848, when the interregnum started, he was already a young man, very, very promising in life. As a matter of fact, before he died in 1883, Olomu was known all over, not only the Ishekiri nation, all the surrounding nations, like the Robo, the Ijo, the Kwale. Everybody regarded or knew Olomu as the wealthiest, the most powerful, and the most influential Ishekiri noble of his time. When Olomu died in 1883, his wealth was not divided amongst his children, as was the custom of the Ishekiri. He died at his own town, Ebruhimi, which he founded in about 1860. Before he died, he showed Nana to all the inhabitants of Ebruhimi as his successor when he dies. So everybody knew Nana before his father died. And like I said before, his father's wealth were left in the hands of Nana. Olomu, his father, gave him a specific instruction. I am not bequeathing this wealth to you as your personal property. You will use them to unite all your brothers and sisters and everybody resident in Ebruhimi. It may sound funny, but it is true. Olomu had 59 wives and he had 106 children. Nana was not the oldest, neither was he the youngest. He was in the middle. But before the father died, he had picked Nana as a worthy successor who would maintain the standard of life that Olomu lived, who would maintain the name, the sanctity of the name of Olomu.
Knew the power of his son that he had, and kept him by his side. So Nana knew a lot about the trading practice at that time, and his father was satisfied that here was a son who could stand for him.
True to form, Nana did not disappoint his father. The trade in those days, after the abolition of the slave trade, was in palm produce, timber, rubber, hides and skin, granite, cotton, and so on from the north. Nana did not trade in all of these, but he was much involved in the palm produce trade. And this was between him as the middleman and the primary producers in the hinterlands. These products were sold to the alien wealthy merchants from Europe. They were of British origin, French origin, Dutch, Germans, even Brazilians all came here in West Africa to trade. And Nana was involved, very much involved in this trade. As a matter of fact, Nana maintained the name of the father. And before the Ebruhimi War of 1894, Nana had already taken over from his father and was also known and regarded as the wealthiest, the most powerful, and the most influential citizen in this part of Nigeria. The British recognized this aspect of Nana's life, his work in the community. And that was why they appointed him as a governor after the death of his father in 1883. Nana was made a governor in 1884. As at that time, the Shekiri had a number of chiefs who would sit at the council with Nana to govern the territory.
Shekiri at that time had no name, but they assembled periodically and elected one individual to be their governor. This was Untold. It was during this period that the British came and brought imperialism. Nana, the fourth governor, became so wealthy and so powerful. He came on board in 1884 as governor. He was sworn in May 1885. At the time the Berlin Conference was taking place in Berlin, Germany, conference where Europeans met and decided to parcel out Africa. They called that continent as colonies. Nana was sitting in a brainy corner in Africa. He made it difficult for the British to penetrate. The man, as governor of his people, did not abdicate his responsibility to foreigners.
One of the policies the British, who later colonized the Shekiri nation, brought, which perhaps started the bad blood between the British and Nana, the argument, the hatred, everything that later degenerated into a full-scale war to destroy Ebruhimi. One of the policies was the dictation of prices. When the British brings in their goods for sale to West Africans, they would want to dictate how much they would want to sell their products. In addition to this, they would also want to dictate how much they can pay for our West African products. In those days, of course, the vogue was trade by barter. Trade by barter in the sense that the British currency was not known to us in Africa, and also our own currency, what we regard as our own currency here in Africa, was not known to the British. As a matter of fact, in the Shekiri area in those days, cowries were what we were using as coin, our coin. They were cowries. The British won't buy anything for cowries. No, they won't accept it. But we in West Africa too, we will not accept their own coins. our people in those days regarded these coins as ordinary metals, which children used to play with. So this was what brought about the idea of trade by barter. Give me what you have, I give you what I have. Nana, as the governor, at the helm of the affairs of the Shekiri nation, is always the one the British will discuss with. Any new policy from the home government in London will be passed to the Shekiri nation through Nana as the governor. Nana would argue with me, if I can accept the prices you are quoting on your own goods, I don't think I will accept you agree that you equally quote prices for the products of my own people. This was always a big argument between Nana as governor on behalf of his people and the primary producers at the hinterland and these wealthy European aliens at the coast, because these aliens didn't go into the hinterland. The Shekiri big-time merchants were at the middlemen. So this argument went on for a long time.
I think the trouble, Nana's idea of a governor was that he would be allowed to act as a go-between between the British and the natives of this area. Not or mainly only for the benefit for the benefit of, that was his idea, for the British, but also for the people living in this area. And the traders had their own ideas, very strong ideas about what the prices should be. And then I had the same thing about what we thought the prices should be. And that was mainly how the problem arose.
It was one of the factors responsible for Nana being held as having stopped trade along Benin River and Warri River. These two rivers were very busy during this period, interregnum, handling trade between the Europeans and the Shekiri nation. It was this primarily that degenerated into the full-scale war of which Nana was attacked at his hometown, Göfiné. He did not give up himself there. When the war was intense, when the war was too much for him to bear, he escaped and gave himself up in Lagos to the British authorities. When they saw him, they brought him down to Warri here for identification, because he showed himself up as the man you are fighting in Benin River. With my headquarters at Göfiné, you are still fighting yonder. And I want the war to end. My people are suffering. You may think it is an exaggeration, or it is no pride to say Nana was not defeated outright. Nana gave himself up to the British to save his people. When I say his people, not merely his relations only. To save the Shekiri nation, to save the Ijaw, the Urhobo, everybody in this area, to save them from the hardship they were going through as a result of the full-scale war.
So in the eyes of the British, here was a local chieftain who was trying to sabotage imperialism, and so he had to be vanquished. He resisted, but he humiliated him and got him to Calabar where he faced a kangaroo court and then sent on exile to Accra for 12 years.
Nana returned from exile, Gold Coast. He came here 1906. He stayed in the house was built for him by the river Rye. When he stayed there for some time, he came on August 8th, and he lived there in the mud house that was built for him. August, September, October, November. So around December, he came towards this way and saw that this terrain was higher than that side. So he decided to build his house here. 1907. He built this house with mud, and by the time he used 4 years to complete it. And when he completed it, he decided to furnish it with the tree that he stayed under to control the people working here.
While he was there, he arranged for his children, some of his children, to be brought to him to attend school there.
The children that were trained in Accra told him that they would want to fell that tree down and then make planks out of it. And they did, and made planks, made planks and then benches and tables in 1911. So they furnished this place with these benches and tables 1911. And before this time, it was mat that they were using to sit down. And the house was roofed with thatch house, we were told. It was 1929 that they put this, the first son of Nana, that is Johnson, put this corrugated iron chips on 1929. Okay, and the room of Nana is inside this way. Okay, and he left this place for two things in particular as a court.
This new settlement was laid out in such a civilized manner that even Europeans who came to Koko to see Nana, because after his return, the news went wide and far. A European friend of Nana, I can't remember his name, he thought life was finished with Nana. But some years later, he came to see him. It was the man, this Briton, who said, my friend Nana, you mean you built this place? You have built a palace for yourself. He equally said, from the layout, from what I see, the layout of this your new community, this new town, this is a new America.
There, you see that throne, the seat used to be there, and then the benches would be there, and then the chairs around that the elders used to sit to pray. But this place you have benches, that's some benches there, you see, are always here. So they use this place as the court of no appeal.
Of no appeal.
Okay, now you see, you will see that there, that 1911, Nana was given this dining hall by his children, Accra trained children. They made it, and then there you have some pictures. You see, almost 3 pictures, brass pictures for water. They are there. And they made table, and in 1914, Lord Lugard came here and had a meal on that table, okay, and left a water filter as a gift for him. So the water that was brought from the river and drank directly was no more like that. It had to go to the filter and filtered before they drink. In this place, you see that it's Nana as a provider.
Yeah.
Okay. Here, when you were told that his brothers and sisters that were scattered in a broken age by the war, they were called, and so when they came, the 24 hours cooking behind here, you see, there are some pots, big pots in this place.
Yeah.
You see, so the community was fed with that cooking. You see. So, and they were always sitting at this veranda as eating. You see, as at that time. When you leave this place,
Yeah.
you see, you have a set to show you that we, the Urobo, the Chekere, the Ijos, we used to sit on mats and eat our food, you see. But when Nana was here in 1911, a dining hall was made for him by the children. So you can see from them, the children and Nana, they were eating on tables and chairs, so no more mat. You see. So that was around in 1911. But finally, you can see he used to entertain his visitors in that place.
Yeah.
So that was about because when he was coming to Koko, his Neville, his British friend, bosom friend, actually told him that when he gets here, his first son in Koko should be named after him. Because, and he did. If you go to that picture, you will see Neville.
British, or let me say European explorers who came and knew Ebrohimi wrote many things about that town. The layout, the type of buildings, even roads that they found were at right angles to each other, some as wide as Piccadilly. They are not of any African make. No African wrote those. European explorers, European merchants, European government officials, diplomats, and so on, who came to West Africa. What they wrote is what we are still depending on today. Neither Nana nor Olomu traveled to Europe. But if I say they are friends, you may know what I mean. Those merchants who were very close to them came with journals, books, certain things that were shown to Olomu and Nana. So some of the buildings you saw from the photographs, they were Nana's and Olomu's idea of what they saw from British or European journals, European pictorials, magazines, books, and so on. You see, they bought those ideas and incorporated them into the building of their houses, the layout of the communities, and so on. You may have the concept. If you don't have the wherewithal to develop it, you will fail. So I would say Olomu was wealthy enough. Nana inherited all his wealth, so Nana was equally wealthy, if not wealthier. Now, you must also have the flair for decency. So when you can see and perhaps love what you have seen, but if you cannot put it into practice, if you cannot build anything of that nature, of that style, I mean, the idea dies within you. But here were two people surrounded by relations, well-wishers, their customers, who equally bought the same idea and helped in developing this community. Specifically, Ebrohimi and Koko. They were so distinct from any other Ishekiri community. So those were two things that were responsible. Nana liked what he saw. and put them directly into practice and succeeded.
So, in summary, I'm going to the whole gamut of Ishekri history. Are people who came together and monarchy was set up over them. Then, by act of God, because they were on the rim of the Atlantic Ocean, Europeans came and had contact with them. The Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, the British. They brought imperialism and destroyed the civilization, the ancient civilization in Ishekri land.
If not for the destruction of Ebruhimi by the British during that 1894 war, I think it would have been surprising, if not almost difficult. It would have been difficult for people to believe that Nana has, before 1906, lived a life of affluence. See, he had enough. He was civilized.
The kings that the British people used to visit and then just victimize the life they used, okay? Where they are on the case there.
Yeah.
You see, but you see, when the British deals with them, they are always sent on exile and make sure that they die. You see, for instance, Jaja Popo died in West Indies. Then Nana went to Gold Coast, and stayed there for 10 good years. Ibani Chuka died in Fernando Po, one of our Krika kings. Then yes, Ovarame, you see, went to the same prison with that Calabar prison, and then he died there. It was only Nana that went and came back and stayed here and built this house 1907, finished it, then stayed until 1916. So 1916 he died. He came back from exile 1906 and built this house and stayed here for 10 good years before he died.
This was the place I said I stayed with my father 15 years before he died, and we packed out. In those 15 years, not that we were allowed to go into the rooms to see these things. He died in 1916. Yeah, that place was made a national museum some maybe 20, 25 years ago. It was only then that these things were brought out from their hideouts. They were always hidden in some of the rooms there. Although occasionally, when my father was alive, he would ask us to bring this out, bring that. We clean them and return. We clean and return.
It's what we have here. Okay. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.